Welcome back to another episode of A Cup of Joe. Today's guest is Charlie Conklin with Sentry Heating and Air. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Yes. You've had a good morning so far?
I have. The day's been pretty. The traffic was not bad. So
That's good.
It's a good day.
You made it. I love it. Well, our audience has been learning a lot about our business owners and entrepreneurs that have been in this market. And what I love about your business is obviously Charlie's a part of our hub vendor program. And your guys, by the way, top notch. Like seriously,
Thank you.
Top notch. We've had no problem communicating and reporting to the site. I FaceTime one of the guys,
Right.
forget his name. I was like, "What am I looking at?" And he's like, "That's not what you're looking at. You're looking over here." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." So I love the one-stop shop aspect of what you guys are creating because we're kind of doing that on a different scale.
Right.
And can you tell our audience about Sentry? How did you get into Sentry Heating and Air?
Well, I started, went to college for a year or so and got disenchanted with what was going on. So I started working in the construction industry and got married. And back in that time, 74, the bottom kind of fell out of the construction market, so I had to look for a different job. And I had some friends that were actually working in the old Bell South building downtown.
Okay.
Back then, it was a brand new building.
Yeah.
And working for keeping care of the electrical, the air conditioning, and things like that. So I took a job there and decided I kind of liked what I was doing, so I went to school from that point forward. And that was in 74. I worked there till 76, and then I went to work for a local heating and cooling contractor out of Pelham, and worked there for probably 6 years, and then moved to another contractor in Bessemer. Worked from there, and then in 87 I started my own business, and I developed over those years I developed some clients, people that just wanted me to come do their work, and that was the whole purpose, was to eventually start my own heating and cooling company. So it took me about 15 years from the time I started doing heating and air conditioning till I really went into business for myself.
Yourself. What creates the want to take on all that stress on yourself instead of working for somebody?
Well,
Where did you find that face?
I think you have to have a tough skin because things are going to happen, and you got to just let it bounce off. You can't let it affect you mentally or physically. So, and then you have to have the willpower to continue to do on. So there's times when, maybe you don't want to go to work you get a call and you don't want to take that call at 9 o'clock at night. Well, you're developing a new business. You better take that call because you never know who that customer is. That customer could have 50 stores or 50 homes or something, and you take care of him and he's impressed. Next thing you know, you're getting all his work.
That's
so
right.
That's how your business grows.
That's exactly right.
Taking that risk, that extra risk that you got to take.
Yeah. Speaking of risk, I think the most understated talent from a business owner standpoint is you went and did the business first. Then you actually created it yourself. What I've noticed commonly is a lot of times everyone gets out of college or high school and they're like, I want to start my own business. Having never worked for that business, having never done any of that. In your opinion, does it make more sense to work for somebody, or would you, looking back, would you have started it on your own to begin with?
Well, I think I would have worked for somebody because lessons learned. You learn how they treat people. You learn how they pay. You learn tricks of the trade. You learn working with other people. You develop relationships with other people. You develop relationships with suppliers and vendors and things like that. And once you're ready to go, they're usually there to back you up. They want to help you out and do the same. So
Yeah.
I can't see, it's kind of hard getting out of college and just wanting to start some kind of business without having some type of knowledge about
The world you're going into.
what you're going into.
Yeah. So did you start it as a heating and air and then you scaled it up?
That's correct. We
Walk
were
me through how that
primarily a
happened.
heating and air conditioning contractor, and in the 90s, when that big major ice storm we had, I lived in Bluff Park, still do. We lost power, and it was like for 4 or 5 days, and I had babies. And, my wife, it was a little stressful. And at that time, Alagasco, which is now Spire, was the selling starting to sell generators. And they were looking for dealers. So that's when I decided to be a generator dealer, was 94.
Okay.
Put one in my home and said, I'm never going to do that again. And so ever since then, so we started doing generators after heating and air, because it kind of fell in line with what we're doing, gas piping and things like that. And then in 2000, we started electrical division. And in 2003, I brought a partner in, Michael Tortomasi, who handles the plumbing and things like that. And we started a plumbing division then.
In what year?
2003.
So, and you started Sentry Heating and Air?
1987.
So from 87 to
94, we were just heating and cooling.
So you
in
started
94,
that business first.
Yeah, and then 94 we added the generators, and in 2003 we added the plumbing.
So about almost like every 10 years,
Yes.
you scaled that business
Scaled it up.
And I love that you
And then electrical we added, major electrical we added probably in 2012 or 2013.
And that was, you said 2003 was when the
Plumbing came in, right.
So yeah, so literally every 10 years.
Every 10 years, right.
It sounds like your business has scaled and scaled and scaled. I love that so much. Do you feel like that gives a business owner enough time to perfect the basic trade? Or would you, in your opinion, let me rephrase that question. Would you have been better doing it all at one time, or adding it as
I think adding it a little bit at a time. If you put too much on and can't find the right people to help, it really.
Oh, it's a bad
day. You may not
day.
have the funds. You may have, let's say you do heating and cooling, and you add it. You may have fun. You may not be able to fund everything from your. Let's say you're primarily heating and cooling, and you do that, and you got heating and cooling people, and you're trying to do electrical or plumbing, and you're not getting enough revenue. You're trying to work with revenue; it's taken away. So, I felt like over the time that we developed this, okay, it's going good. Now we can start developing something else.
Mm-hmm. So, and I love that you worked on a basic, standard model. Let's perfect it. Let's work it out the kinks. Then we add another layer. Then we add another layer.
That's
and
right.
then here you are. You're pretty conglomerate. You're actually one of the oldest standing business in Vestavia.
Yeah, we've been in business 38 years.
In Vestavia, for that matter. A lot of businesses have come and go.
Right.
Out of all the neighbors where you're at. So he is right off of Rocky Ridge.
That's correct.
In the heart of Vestavia Hills, next to the Piggly Wiggly. What was the grocery store?
No, the Piggly Wiggly, Publix, the Publix.
Publix. So
down the street from the Publix. We're right across from the BP gas station.
That's right.
Been there since 98. We built that building in 98.
That's awesome. How has that location been for y'all?
It's been good. It's a safe area, so I can actually leave the doors unlocked and probably nothing would happen. And people in the neighborhood, we're very community oriented. We like to help the communities. We support the baseball teams, the high school stuff, anything that somebody needs us to support that's related to the community. We usually take care of. We've been chamber members for almost 36 years, and
I love that.
And we figured we needed to be in an area where people see us. There's a lot of companies that are out in the other part of the city or somewhere else out, and we wanted to be in the community. We wanted to be so that we were part of your community. We weren't just out somewhere and just want your business. We wanted to be there and get your business.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's great that you're able to be a part, like you said, be a part instead of just like as a business. And I think that's where a lot of businesses struggle. Speaking of struggle, walk us through some of your biggest struggles as a business owner and how you were able to overcome some adversity.
Well, I think originally, getting started, we had a little bit of trouble with my ex-boss, and then that cleared up. And then in 2001, we had the 9/11 issue, and we were doing a lot of construction work at that time, and contractors were failing. They were failing, and they were making us if they were failing, we weren't getting paid for what we were doing after 9/11.
Why were contractors failing?
Business just dropped off after 9/11, and So that was probably our roughest time from 2001 to 2002, 2003, and we started bouncing back after that and just kind of continued forward and been real fortunate. You know, up and down, you lose good employees. Sometimes you have auto accidents and things happen, and you know, stuff happens, but that's part of being in business and part of having employees and cars on the road and vehicles on the road and things like that. So I think most part we've been real fortunate. They haven't had anything really catastrophic.
Yeah.
And as far as a business owner, or anything catastrophic to the business. And bank's been good to us, and customers are good to us. We treat our customers well, and they treat us well.
Yeah. And you guys have such a strong standing and communication and reviews, and people have really supported that effort. But I know you've also faced some harsh criticism in times of adversity. How do you give advice to business owners when they are facing that?
Well, listen to what criticism you're getting, because it may be true. Some of that criticism may be true. There may be somebody there that's not doing what they're supposed to do that you're expecting them to do, or just listen to what they have to say and weigh both sides and then make a decision based on that.
Yeah.
And you got to think of what's best for you or your company. And that's how I would go about it.
Yeah. And how you also have family that has worked for you?
Yes, both my daughters work for me.
Yeah.
Lauren, she's been with me for almost 14 years, and Christina's been with me about 7 years.
Mm-hmm. And Pam was working.
Pam was working. She retired 2 years ago. Pam came in 2002, and she worked till last year, and then she took retirement.
Yeah. How does that?
She likes it. We keeping grandbabies. She's got the grandbabies. That's her favorite thing is the grandbabies.
But she at least helped build this with you.
That's right.
And
She was there, and if I wasn't there, she was my eyes and ears about what was going on, and that's always helpful sometimes to have an extra set of eyes and ears.
Yeah.
That's bias.
That's right. On your behalf.
On my behalf. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you encourage business owners to incorporate family members? Do you think that makes a difference?
It's just up to them. In some cases, I go, man, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe they shouldn't have done this. And then other times I go, I'm glad they're here, because they get to spend time with their dad or with your relatives or whatever. And I think that's what they look at. They get to spend time with me. And they work hard.
They do. I saw Lauren was giving you hell about something, and you were like, "Whatever," and she was like, "Y'all were just giving it right back to each other." I was like, "That's so fun."
Well, sometimes it can be. There's times I go, "Man, I shouldn't ever done this," and then other times, because I think sometimes you get tied a little bit with, and you got family there. There's some things you can't do because family's there. And then, if you didn't have family, there's probably things you could do differently, but I wouldn't change it.
What would you do differently?
What would I do differently if I didn't have family there? I'd probably already been retired by now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So you feel a little bit of a connection.
Yeah. I'm working on that now. I'm 72 years old. I've been doing this for 51 years.
Wow.
A long time.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to sit back and relax. And both my girls, they're not interested in owning the business. They just want to work there. Mm-hmm. So, we're in the process of determining
the succession plan. When do you start talking about a succession plan in the business?
We're in the process now of doing some things. So 50
years later.
Yeah, 50 years later. Maybe I've been working on it for about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And it's in our industry, it's becoming more and more popular. A lot of merger and acquisition companies that are buying heating and air conditioning companies, big companies that are got all kinds of cash and making great offers to heating and air conditioning companies, and that's good. But I still want to keep it simple, and I want to keep it local. And those companies I'm not interested in looking with those because they're.
Keep your California money.
They don't have the relationship with those people. I'll give you an example. I have a friend that sold his business. He's here in Birmingham. And I was calling him up, asking him, hey, just asking him questions and things. And he was telling me, he says, man, he says, I wish I would have never done it. Within 90 days, all my employees were gone.
Oh no.
So what happens is companies, a lot of companies that have a lot of chains and other places, they can bring in people from other areas and bring them in here and do what they want with them.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
That's why you got to be picky about how you're going to do it.
Got to make sure how you're going to do it. Yeah.
Well, and I think part of it too, the business evolution has been very interesting to me. Whatever worked in 1990 and 1980s is not going to work in 2000. It's not going to work in 2010. It's not going to work in 2020. You've had, and I know, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this because there's been a lot of transition. Technology has changed. The whole Freon debacle has changed. Like the recycle people have just, got up in arms because of disposed HVAC units and all of this stuff. What has that looked like for you in watching all of that transition into this
it all
world?
started in the early 90s with the Montreal Protocol. And basically what we had to end up doing was every one of our technicians had to have a recovery machine. So back then that was a $500 or $600 investment that we had to do. So if we're changing out your air conditioning unit, we had to bring a recovery machine in there, pull that refrigerant out, record it, what we had, and then replace your air conditioning system. Well, that's extra time, so that costs extra money. So that still is in process. You still have to do that now. Today.
So you have to retract all the Freon before you dispose the unit?
And you put it in a container and then you send it to a recycling company.
Oh, wow.
So that takes a lot of time, and people don't understand that, you just, back before then, everybody just vented it to the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't probably not very good for it. So there were some good reasons for that. And the refrigerant has changed too. We've gone from R22 to 410A, and now we're getting ready to change to R32 and R454B. And I think that's kind of gotten a little out of hand because I don't see any reason why what we were doing wasn't okay with what we have. And now we're having to change again.
In what capacity are you saying you don't see what's the big? What is the biggest difference between the old Freon and today's Freon?
Well, today's Freon, the R54B, it's slightly flammable. So, that's what they say, slightly flammable. Well, to me, anything that's slightly flammable, period, just flammable. And I think the industry is just kind of getting away with that. They do say that, you'd have to really try and catch it on fire, but I don't want to be one of the ones to find out. So we have to take extra precautions. Now, your systems, just give you an example, like a package unit, like a commercial rooftop or a package unit on somebody's home, and an evaporator coil, they have sensors in there. So if the Freon level gets low, it shuts the system down and lets you know you have low refrigerant charge.
Oh, wow. Because as opposed to it just running.
And the reason why, before you had equipment that had low charge sensors, if the Freon got low, it would shut the unit down, and some of them could send you a service signal and things like that. This does it too, but this also, the reason they're concerned about it is they don't want this refrigerant in the home because it's flammable.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
slightly flammable. I have to say slightly flammable.
Slightly. What makes it
it's
flame
propane.
up? It's propane.
Propane's a refrigerant.
So what?
Yeah, propane can get real cold. Propane get cold. You can get cold, and propane's a refrigerant. Ammonia is a refrigerant.
But you put propane in your HVAC
Yeah, there's
system?
propane into these. There's a mix. It's a mixture. So when you lose Freon on one of these units too, you can't just add it. You're going to have to pull everything out and put a brand new charge in. But he had to do that with 410A too.
Why is that?
Because it's a mixture. It's not a pure blend. Mm-hmm. It's a mixture of different types of refrigerants or different type of chemicals. So when you lose that refrigerant, you don't know what portion of the chemicals being exhausted out to the atmosphere. So you have to pull all the refrigerant out and replace it with pure refrigerant back in.
What is the problem? Like right now, I remember hearing about like the fiasco that went on with all this Freon wars and like we're going to run out of it. We're not going to have enough of it. Where does the Freon come from?
Well, it's made chemically. Other than ammonia. Ammonia, I'm not sure how they make ammonia, but It's all, it's all chemicals. And there's some countries that still use R22, that use a refrigerant we haven't used in 30 years.
Do you ever feel like if it ain't broke, why you keep trying to fix it?
Well, that's the government doing that. Exactly right. R22 was pretty good, and you had some other refrigerants, R500 and R12, that were actually very good refrigerants that had low operating temperatures and pressures and worked very good. But they're all abandoned too. Grocery stores used the R12 and the R502, and they had to change all that. They had tremendous amount of expenses to do.
That's insane. Did you feel that in your business? Are you seeing a lot of units coming out of that line?
Right now, we're running out of 410A units, and we've got 454B units, but they're not coming in on a regular basis. So we may have a shortage this summer. People may have to wait a week or two to get an air conditioning unit. Our biggest problem is right now is that we can't get enough refrigerant. We went to buy some 454B the other day, and I was only allowed 2 drums. I need about 40 drums. Just like the 410A, with the equipment coming, we need that much refrigerant. So today we had our meeting. I told my guys, I said, we're getting R454B. Just be very careful. Don't waste any of it because we're not sure how we're going to get it. Fortunately, I'm licensed in other states, so I'm calling other suppliers in other states, trying to get a jug or two of refrigerant.
You're like literally trying to
piecemeal it together to get enough refrigerant, because we're not sure whether or not they're going to have enough refrigerant to
sustain
it. If you break down and lose your Freon, lose the refrigerant, are we going to have enough refrigerant to replace it with?
That's a problem.
That could be a very big problem.
This is a huge problem.
And you can talk about a bunch of customers that are going to be mad.
Wow.
You can get by without heat. You can dress up, but during the summertime, you cannot get by. You can you can be in a bathing suit and you're still going to be hot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
In your
no
house.
kidding. Yeah.
Oh,
so how do you get ahead of it? Do you tell people, hey, start calling now to get your...
we tried. Last year, I spoke at our chamber and Vestavia chamber meeting, and I told everybody this is the time now to start buying, because still 410A equipment was still available. Don't wait till the 454B gets here, because we don't know how it's going to go, and right now it's not going very good.
No. Where is it coming from? Don't say China.
Well, no, it's not China, but you got different manufacturers. R32, you got R32 and 454B. They're similar refrigerants. Some manufacturers are using R32, and other ones are using R454B. Mm-hmm. But both of the refrigerants are hard to get. So
where do you get it?
Huh?
Where do you get it?
You have to get it from a supplier, and they're not getting it from the manufacturer.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, we do. I think it could be an issue this summer, and that's really that could be an issue. But hopefully somewhere down the line somebody starts showing up with refrigerant to R454B. We don't have any problem getting 410A. What's
the difference between 410A and 454B?
Well,
you got me confused. I'm like, what is
there's
the
really
difference?
not that much difference when you look at it from the pressures and everything. There's really not that much difference. But what it is your R454B is more environmentally safe than 410A is. But the only problem with R454B and R32, it's slightly flammable because it does have the propane in it.
Have you had any catch fire?
No.
Come on. That's good. Praise the Lord.
But we haven't had but a few. We're just now starting to get 454B units in, and we've probably got in the past month they've just now started to show up, and we've probably put 3 or 4 R454B units in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You're almost out of the
stock of the 410A units, and there's going to be R454B, and the home builders. Look at all the homes.
New construction.
I was just looking at the new construction at Everly, like over there off of 150.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all those homes. I'm going, well, I sure hope they've got enough air conditioning units to put all these homes they're building up here everywhere.
Yeah.
And same thing for us.
Because transformers we had problems with for a hot minute because we couldn't get electrical for transformers.
Yeah.
So what happened with Huntsville?
Yeah. So I don't know, here's the biggest thing. We deal a lot of our equipment. We deal in upscale, the heating and air conditioning equipment. We typically don't sell like a builder's model or things like that. We sell above that model. Some that got variable speeds, 2 speeds, got different features in them that the typical builder's model does. A lot of that has electronic controls in it. You know, hopefully we've got enough electronic controls, because I think a lot of that stuff does come from China.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting to watch, especially with the administrative changes and tariff changes. Like, we're going to start seeing, I think, more manufacturing happening here in the long haul, but it's not a quick fix.
No, it's not going to be a quick fix.
No.
And I think maybe our industry was hoping that maybe they would say, hey, don't worry about the 454B, just keep the 410A, and I don't think that's happened yet.
Yeah.
Even the national organizations that represent us, I think, are working on things to do, but I don't think
just to reverse the complexity.
I do know appliances have been reversed. Shower heads have been reversed.
What's up with the leave the shower alone?
I know.
Like, she's just like, no, you cannot have that much water pressure. I'm like, no, this is the problem.
Can't have that much water when you're taking a shower. And, you know, the appliances, you know, the dishwashers and the dryers and all that, you know, there was a big change in all that. And I think they've reversed all that. And maybe they may do it on the heating and cooling side.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're in a high production series right now, or do you think a lot of people are not? Like, are we surging in purchase right now, or do you think that they're steady?
I think they're steady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there'll be a more demand for heating and cooling, because, you know, you have your construction market that's probably stays pretty steady year round. And then when we get into the hot peak months, the equipment sales are going to pick up, because, you know, you have the replacement market.
What is your favorite equipment to work on?
Favorite equipment to work on? Oh, we got probably Carrier Infinities.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
They're good?
Yeah. You
No
don't even
pun
have to put
intended.
gauges on them or nothing. It tells you everything. You just have to know how to set it up, and does everything for you.
They're pretty cool. No pun intended.
Yeah.
You worked that out well.
Yeah.
And as a finish out, just to wrap up our audience here, how can they find you, Charlie?
Well, they can check us out on www.sentryheating.com. I got or on Facebook. We're just now starting an Instagram page.
Oh, that's exciting.
And,
welcome to the gram.
Yeah. So that's, I think that'll be going on in the next week or two. LinkedIn.
Is Lauren doing it?
No, we got a company called Fusion Marketing that's doing that for us.
Okay, good.
And then we have LinkedIn. And then also you can just give us a call on the phone, 205-979-9864. And we're there 24/7. You'll get an answer. And if you need service in the middle of the night or on a Saturday or Sunday, we'll take care of you.
That's awesome. Charlie Conklin, 51 years in the business.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
my hero. Thank you for coming to the show.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely.
Had a good time.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it.
All right.
That's all we got for this one. We will see you guys on the next episode of Cup of Joe.